I'm so excited about today's show. I was saying my parents have crossed over. I said, what a joy that my parents would love to see all these professional brothers in the industry of teaching, education. So I'm excited and I am so honored that you all accepted the invitation. And I want to thank Mrs. Render. I want to thank Miss Render for reaching out, and we'll talk about that later. But today, we're going to talk about what's a passion to me, my babies. I love my children. I love my children, and I love you all. So what I like for you to do is start introducing yourself. Then let's kind of, as they say, loosen it up a little bit, and then we can get into the education. Go ahead. Hello. Okay. Mr. Gaines?
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Yeah, I'll
sir.
start it off.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you, and it's an honor and a pleasure for having me on the show. So, my name is Antonio Gaines, Mr. Gaines. I am the principal here at Cleveland College Preparatory School. We're here at Slavic Village neighborhood, 4906 Fleet Avenue. This is my first year being the principal under the tutelage of Mr. Penn. I was under his tutelage for about 6 years, and he stepped up and took over at another school and actually another position, and which allows me to, be proud and happy to be the proud principal here at Cleveland College Prep. Been in education for and working with the students for about 10 years now. And it's just a pleasure to work with these babies and give them a hope in the future and someone to look up to. And I'll pass it over to,
Yes,
I'm sorry.
pass it over. No,
I'll
pass
pass
it
it over to Mr. Penn.
Appreciate the kind words and the candor. My name is Mr. Philip Penn. I will be the executive principal of University of Cleveland Prep, while also maintaining the same title for Cleveland College Prep, where my predecessor, where Mr. Gaines has taken over to facilitate the role as principal. I was to be able to be the principal over at Cleveland College Prep for the past 6 school years. This is my 13th year in education overall. I'm really excited about my role, which allows me to stay where a lot of my roots were. I spent 10 years over at Cleveland College Prep, and I'm confident in passing those reins over to Mr. Gaines to be able to make a difference in that Slavic Village community. But I've also had a chance to move into another area that has some needs. So I'm moving within the Midtown, downtown area, 40th, 55th area of Cleveland. And I'm looking to be able to make some change, even try to impact some systemic issues that are going on within the community to provide a high quality education for our Black children. There's no other way to put it. So I'm really excited about that position. I'm really excited about the opportunities that we have. And I'm very excited to be here with you today. So I'm going to pass it over to another esteemed colleague of mine, and he'll probably share some of the connections, but Mr. Rob Williams.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to be here. Principal Williams, Robert Williams. I'm the principal at Cleveland Preparatory Academy, 4850 Pearl Road. And I've been in education for 10 years, and I'm very, very grateful just to be able to work with the 2 other gentlemen, Mr. Penn and Mr. Gaines. We've worked with each other for a number of years. And I know that we are all passionate about helping our community and the roles that we're in. And I know that I'm very, very excited about being here and talking more with you, Lady Gilmore.
And me as well. Is there someone else? Okay, I'm old school, no dead air on the radio, no dead air. Well, it's a pleasure for me to be in your company as well. One thing, I already love you all when I seen your photos and read your bios, because you have the passion in your heart to love on our babies. They have us. Some of them don't have fathers in the home. And to see prosperous young Black men, Black brothers that have said, I want to reach back like you did, Mr. Gaines, you reached back and brought Mr. Penn with you. Then you reached and Mr. Penn reached back and brought Mr. Williams with you. See, that's what it's about. Reach back and bring somebody with you. And we have the heart of our children. But I have so many questions for you. I pray I'm not talking too fast, but I like for you all to help explain to our audience what is the SL schools and what do you do? So anybody can chime in.
Sure, I don't mind tackling that. Excel schools, and it starts with a brief definition of the dynamics of education and what it looks like now. There's several different styles of schools. You'll have your traditional public school, and then you'll have a charter school, or often referred to as a community school. Excel schools is a collection of community schools. There's about at least 51 schools across the U.S. Several are here in Ohio. We have about 43. Excel schools would essentially be the parent or management company of each one of those schools. While we are ran by an individual governing board, board of directors that are elected, we also have a management company to help ensure that the schools are supported with several resources to be able to implement the various programs that we have that are unique to each one of our school settings. So Excel Schools, again, it's the largest public charter school operator in the state of Ohio. We've been around ideally since about 2015, so we're not new, but we're a collection of other community schools who've been in existence prior to such. So, for example, the predecessor, Cleveland College Prep, we've been in existence since 2010. Same thing with the University of Cleveland Prep. We've been around for roughly about 2012. So.
Wonderful history. So this is not new, because a lot of people wanted to, ask me several questions about it, but you know what I told them? Wait to Saturday morning, October 3rd, 2020, 9 a.m. That's when you can answer all your questions and come on and view the interview about what the schools is and what they do, which is awesome. Mr. Gaines, would you please speak about how is the public charter schools different from the traditional schools?
Yes, ma'am. So the public charter schools are different from the regular traditional school. Is that when we're talking about public charter schools, we're also called the community schools, and we are tuition free. We still qualify for the yellow bus transportation and also free and reduced lunch. And we are governed under our own local boards, which we are also as a nonprofit organization as well. And there's over 340 charter schools within Ohio. And then Excel manages about 43 of those charter schools within Ohio.
And how many did you say again, please?
As far as Excel, 43. It's 43 that Excel manage, but there's over about 340 charter schools within Ohio.
Wow. So how do the parents get a hold of you to register their children?
So, we have our websites, our social media pages, and then as well as just by word of mouth, especially in our neighborhoods that we serve. We are the gentleman that goes out and do some of the door-to-door canvassing, being out in the community at community events, local festivals, parades and such. And we just, by word of mouth, and then also just doing a boots to the ground, getting our name out there.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd like to add, Mr. Gaines is being modest. This gentleman is out in the community every week sharing the good word about what's going on over at Cleveland College Prep. You can see this gentleman riding on an ice cream truck, giving out free supplies. You can see this individual hosting several events within the community. I believe he has an upcoming trunk or treat to still make sure that the kids are still getting some level of activity, even despite all that's going on with COVID-19. So you can find us from a community school perspective. And I think that's why we're referred to as community schools. You can find us at just about every local event, something that's going on within the community, just sharing the good word, even if it's not specifically about our school, better ways that parents can be able to support their children within urban education. So we just want to make sure that all families have a new opportunity, and we are a school of choice that provides parents a greater opportunity than what we sometimes see in the public district.
Well, what are some of the questions that the parents asked of you all?
I would say some of the questions that they asked is in regards to what does, academic instruction look like? What are the class sizes? Specifically right now with 2020 and COVID, what does the safety protocols look like in your school? And then some of the other questions, extracurricular activities, and all of those things we do provide from a community school level. We make sure that we're following all the safety protocols that are in place by the local department officials, and then also extracurricular and academic. We focus on more of an individualized instruction, and it just varies from different schools based on the leadership style and their approach with academics. So, I know that all three of us, we've had some experience with academics and maintaining our academics and improving, but we want to make sure that we accommodate all of our kids, especially with their individual needs. And we know that our babies need a little bit more attention when it comes to academics, especially with reading and math. So it varies with the different types of schools. And I know amongst us three, our approaches are different, but those are some of the questions that parents typically have in regards to when they want to enroll into our schools.
Here's one that I love. What made you young men won't have the desire to get into this field?
I'll start first. For me, I think it's based on my history and my past. I'm a former foster care kid. I grew up in the system, and just having those challenges and growing up with those challenges helped motivate me to become not only a better person, but better with education. And I've kind of stuck with that throughout college and going back into the field and working with our youth. It just became a passion of mine and actually became a calling of mine. So, it's not about doing this for the money. It's about more of a purpose in life. And I know what my purpose is. So it makes my job a lot easier, emotionally, mentally, because I know I'm going in to serve. And everything else just falls in place. So that was kind of my background.
Thank you.
So,
Mr. Penn?
Oh,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
Mr. Penn.
No problem. Sure thing. Similar to Mr. Williams, I believe most of our practices are past, sets the tone for our future. My educational background and compares to a lot of my peers, I grew up with two parents who were educators.
Okay.
And what made it a gift and a curse, both of them taught in the district I went to school in. And so you can imagine if you're sitting in class and a teacher, a lot of the students, they don't have a fear factor. They may not even have a parent who's invested in education. Imagine somebody across the hall that says, I know your parent's extension. Let me just call over to her classroom. So you can imagine the level of focus I was able to have. But it took it from a deeper perspective. And I always remember my 7th grade school year, there were just a lot of exposures when they started summer reading and some of the things that they attempted to expose us to. And I'll never forget one of my better friends who just did not have a fair chance at things. And I remember the position that it put him in, but specifically, I remember the teacher that he had that wasn't supportive. And that teacher just didn't extend a courtesy. They weren't understanding the circumstance. And I just remember that was not a scenario that I ever wanted to experience or deal with before. And I did have some family who was able to support that individual. And that was pretty much a fueling factor that I remember I never wanted to have another student experience. And so it gave me the fuel where some things that I was naturally skilled at being able to help others understand content. It was almost a clear description and a clear indicator of what field to be able to go into, and specifically my target audience. I've had several districts who've been able to communicate with me over time about educational opportunities and positions, and a lot of peers, they've asked me, why haven't you considered going to this district or this? It's all about the students that I'm serving. I truly aim to work with a specific population, and specifically that is my Black urban youth. And I want to ensure that they're always getting a fair chance and the supports to support educational equality is the best way I'll put it.
Mr. Gaines?
Yes. So the reason I got into education, I grew up in the inner city of Cleveland, Garden Valley neighborhood. I went to Anton Gradina. That school was in the middle of, I'll just be candid, in the middle of the projects. So growing up there, as a kid, you really didn't notice how economically disadvantaged, we were, until I was fortunate enough to, and shout out to my parents, to able to
Absolutely.
go move with my grandmother in Cleveland Heights. And so, as you know, Cleveland Heights and the inner city of Cleveland is two totally different districts, two totally different economic, backgrounds. And me coming from, the inner city of Cleveland, going to Cleveland Heights, I knew how, I guess, economically advantaged they were compared to the Cleveland school district. And with me, still having, a lot of friends and also family in the inner city of Cleveland that wasn't, able to go to a district as such. And it just made me just really go into education and reach back to the students and my friends and families where I came from, to give them the opportunity that I was able to have. And again, with me just being, sorry if I pull a little closer.
Thank you.
So again, just me reaching back to the students, basically where I'm serving right now is pretty much, a couple blocks or, over from Garden Valley, to give them, a future and a hope and someone to look up to, that look like them as well.
That's the bottom line. Our babies need someone to look up to, and they respond quicker when we all look alike. My biological son is 49 years old, and we wanted him to have a male teacher, because there's something about that man's appearance, the body language, and all of that, and it gives some of the young men, a lot of them. It'll give them, like you just said, you came from Garden Valley. So what? This is some good. They told Jesus, you from Nazareth. And what did he tell them? Some good come out of Nazareth. So some good came out of the different areas that we all lived in. Mr. Williams coming out of foster care, and a lot of the foster care children feel that don't nobody care. Who cares about me? And with us talking about this, I already shared with Ms. Render that this has to be a series, because we can't cover everything that we want to cover in 28 minutes. My babies are sitting at home, as you all know, virtual learning. I really want to tap into this virtual learning, because the children are suffering. The parents are suffering. They're not used to being home all day and all night with each other. How do you feel? Do you all get phone calls and emails about this, the virtual learning? Because that's the new now.
Yeah, absolutely. The point of contact is increased exponentially. I've shared to families when we did an orientation process to start off going into the distance learning program, and I was able to put one together back on March 16th when we had our closure, and it gave a little bit of experience on how to best navigate it. And my first message that I shared with families is, it's going to be tough. And you probably are going to have some breakdowns, and it is a-okay if you have a breakdown, because this isn't normal. The thing is, educators, when they first got into the field of education, didn't anticipate delivering instruction from a distance standpoint, but when you add in a lot of the factors that we're dealing with specifically within our set of schools, parents have responsibilities. And the means of a lot of systemic racism, ends don't justify the means at this point. Being able to have bills paid and making sure they have adequate coverage, it's just not there. So we've been able to see a number of circumstances of families sharing. It's 2020, but you'd be surprised how many families don't have adequate broadband and internet services. And then the number of what we've now seen is that the providers don't even have enough broadband to be able to service within that community. Even though they'll set up service, they're starting to see a high level of dragging that didn't happen before. So, you know, I'll say that I don't think anyone in the country, anyone in the city was prepared truly for this level of shift. And it's definitely grueling. We've have seen a number of contacts, but I believe it's probably a core principle of each one of these esteemed gentlemen on the call is to be fully accessible from our families. I set up another line. Families contact me 7 days a week, 365. I've gotten emails at 1 a.m. I've gotten messages at 4 a.m. It doesn't matter. And I respond as fast as I can respond so I can give some real-time supports to try to help these families. So, but you're absolutely correct in those sentiments. It's been quite a challenge, and it's going to continue to be a challenge for quite some time until we truly know when we'll be able to come out of this situation.
See why I said that we can't cover it all? We need a series of this. You know, we can attack a different area, you know, in different series, because questions that we're speaking about now, when we go off air and they'll be texting and inboxing and all that with questions with their concern. But what I noticed and I love about the three of you all already serving. Every last one of you used the word serving. I want to serve the community. And you use my favorite word, my babies, because they are our babies. God gave us the assignment to see about our babies. So when the parents get a hold of you, this is because I get a lot of calls. I do a lot in the community, et cetera, et cetera. And the parents are so panicky. I mean, I've had a husband and a wife call me. I've been knowing them over 20 years. It's the mama. What are we, whose kid is this? Whose child is this? I said, that's your bundle of joy. You know, she's yours. So they're combative, don't know what to do, period. And everybody's just in a tizzy, and the household is in an uproar, and we yet can continue with virtual learning and being at home. Mr. Williams, can you share with us? Parents have called you about everybody being at home all day and all night. Smiling.
Yes. So I think specifically with our campus, we're offering all three modalities. So we have traditional, which is 5 days a week, hybrid, which is a couple of days at home and a couple of days at school, and then fully virtual. So what we try to do is accommodate our larger families. So families of, 3, 4, 5 kids at home.
Mhm.
We try to meet their needs, and then also meeting the needs of our special ed kids first. So what we try to do is accommodate each family and each situation and work around their needs. And then, speaking with them and meeting with them and putting their, their angst at ease. With this is going to be a slow process. It's going to be an adjustment for everyone, not only the families, but the teachers. So I think number one for us, what we try to do is talk with our families, hear them out, and then whatever supports we can meet around their specific needs. That's the highest priority for us. And then we'll just work around that, and then we'll take our time, and then we'll do what we need to do. But the message across the board is education, and all of our families want our kids to be educated, and I think that's important. But yeah, meeting their needs and talking with them, and kind of counseling them. I think right now with COVID and the frustration and the anxiety with everything, I think the leadership at the building, needs to provide support in that area with our families. So that's what we try to do.
Wow. Which is good because someone right now is reaching out. Right now, they don't know what to do. I'm frustrated. I've been getting phone calls that the children don't want to stay on the virtual learning. What
Yeah,
about
yeah,
you all?
yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
It's been a challenge. I think the obstacle right now for us is social interaction with our kids, being around other kids, how important that is from a developmental standpoint. It's taken away that friend peer relationships that is important for our kids and our babies. But I think the kids are learning and becoming more accustomed to it.
Okay.
But it's sort of how you communicate. It's sort of how you communicate with your families and your kids on how important it is to log in and be there virtually. And then our parents reaching out to us if they're having technological issues, internet issues, login issues, reaching out to those specific campuses for support. We're here, we're all here, and we're going to work through whatever we have to work through. Let's take our time. Let's not rush, and let's be just supportive of each other.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gaines, and then we're going to have Mr. Penn. We have 5 minutes left. So you can do finish your closing out, Mr. Williams. We want to just tell them again, I'm here,
Cleveland Preparatory Academy, 4850 Pearl Road. We're here. We're ready to accommodate your needs. And any questions you have, you can always reach out to us, clevelandprepacademy.org, and reach out on our Facebook. Just happy to serve and happy to be a part of this program.
Thank you. Mr. Gaines.
So again, Mr. Gaines, Principal Gaines, here at Cleveland College Preparatory School, 4906 Fleet Avenue, in the heart of the Slavic Village neighborhood. We can be reached at 216-341-1347 or clevelandcollegeprep.org. So it's a passion for me, but it's also my calling to serve our youth and to give back to the kids in general, and also the kids that look like me, giving them that father figure, that big bro, as they would like to say, uncle, but giving them something to look up to, and also for the parents to be that pillar in the community for where they can come and vent and be able to share their frustrations during this time. And me being able to counsel them, bring them from a 10 down to a 1 in regards to their frustration, because it's not easy. As a parent myself, it's not easy. It's long days. It's long days, long nights. And we just have to just work through it, be patient. Patience is key. We don't know when this is going to be over with, but at the end of the day, if we all work together, collectively as a community and as a nation, we'll be able to get through this. But until then, we just have to practice patience, believe in our higher power, and, just go from there and just rest in faith.
Thank you. Mr. Penn, we have 1 minute.
Absolutely. In brief, just quick PSA to families. Trying to work with your children during such a period. I know it's been a challenge for you. I just ask for you to take on a little bit of responsibility to do a couple things, because confidence is key for our children, especially even from a distance learning standpoint. So while they're in those virtual learning sessions, if you just can do 2 things in order to make sure that they're most confident, if you can help build a home workstation for them. I know there's limited space within the home. If you can have something in which they're comfortable showing, because as they have webcams on, we want a student to be confident in showing their home. And a lot of times that's maybe a concern for students, if you're going to be able to assist with that. And then something that also helps reduce their distractions, because it is quite a challenge to be able to sit at one given time on a computer for X amount of hours. So if you're able to support with those 2 things, I would greatly appreciate that. This is Principal Philip Penn from University of Cleveland Preparatory School, Midtown downtown area, 1906 East 40th Street, right across the street from PNC Bank. I'm very happy to serve and be able to contribute to the neighborhoods to support educational equity. I'm happy to be here. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you all so very much. I want to give a shout out to the DAR Public Relations, all of our friends, Ms. Render. Thank you so very much for the connection. I also want to give a shout out to Denise Jenkins, Ensign Graphics. Her number is 440-342-0742 for the wonderful flyer announcements. And I want to say to my sons how proud you have made me. Peace.